mimic each other, but then when we looked at it, we realized we were each giving the Iraqis something different, and they would rotate between us. So I would get first company on a particular week, then the first company would go to India, then they'd go on leave. When they came back, they'd come back to me. So it ended up being maintained that way by design, even though it sort of developed that way initially by accident or by chance.
Okay. I believe earlier I misspoke. I believe I called India Kilo.
Right.
So I apologize for that. And you say, sir, that the relationship with the Iraqi Army and the Marines was actually very good, which is, you know, kind of opposite from what many of us on the outside understand that y'all just tolerated the Iraqi Army, and however you had a very strong relationship with him.
Very strong. Okay. The misunderstanding couldn't be more profound in most people's view. Also, there's a lot of bigots, in my opinion, in the America. I mean, not like a majority, but there are people who don't get along with the Iraqi Army, and it almost always evolves from prejudice. But when you move them onto your base, live with them, eat with them, embrace them, train them, learn their language, they try to learn yours. I've never had a more camaraderie or tighter relationship with any foreign force. You know, in several MU deployments as a lieutenant, working with international officers in my B billet. I'm not saying the Iraqis are head and shoulders above anybody else, but they're just as good as anybody else.
Well, I've kind of picked that up in the past few weeks I've been here in Iraq. I've talked a lot of the enlisted Marines, and the majority of them feel pretty strongly about their relationships with Iraq.
Absolutely.
So I'm kind of surprised to hear about that, but I'm glad we're actually capturing that here on video for future reference. Another question, sir. I understand that the Iraqi army unit was it Shiite, and predominantly the populace was Sunni. So was there any strife between the two? I understand that there's sectarian differences and problems and whatnot. Could you expand on that?
I can. I've never served in Baghdad, so I don't know the reality of Baghdad. My perception is Baghdad is sectarian. Ramadi's not. I've never seen that here in any strong circumstance. Of course, there's isolated incidents anywhere, but the Iraqi Army Battalion 217 that we worked with is 95% Shiite at that time.
But what was their unit designators there?
217, 2nd Battalion, 1st Brigade, 7th Iraqi Army Division.
Okay, and then the 7th Iraqi Army Division was assigned to Anbar.
Right, the 7th Division, Anbar Province.
Okay.
So 217 at that time was 95% Shiite, maybe 99% Shiite. The vast majority of them came from Sadr City in Baghdad. There were a few Sunnis. One of the company commanders was Sunni, in fact, Major Jassim. Ramadi is 95 or 99% Sunni, and the Shiite soldiers had very few problems operating in the Sunni town. I think that's because there was such chaos in the town, such violence, and no police. The Iraqi army were the only vestiges of order, of military force, of authority, that the people responded to them being present. I know this to be a fact. The people responded to the Iraqi army. Now I remember one occasion where a Sunni citizen accused actually Marines, my first platoon, of stealing $10,000 in cash from an upstairs room. First of all, I don't think it was $10,000. With the benefit of hindsight, that's a relatively normal behavior I see now, to make allegations and then hope that they'll be settled. And it certainly wasn't my Marines who stole it. It may very well have been a Shiite soldier took jewelry from a nightstand. I mean, the army soldiers are poor in general. The Shiites in Sadr City are very poor. But that was one incident in 2,000 patrols that we ran. Maybe there were 5 more. I mean, I don't remember them, but if just statistically, there could have been a few other things. By and large, the people responded to the soldiers. They would give tips to the Iraqi army soldiers. We caught a kidnapper one time because of a tip that a person walked up to a jundi, that's the Arabic for soldier, and gave the jundi. So, the fact that nobody else understands that is commonplace, just based on lack of accuracy in news reporting in most organizations. I saw very few reporters here, and I understand why. I mean, it's dangerous, but they don't get out here, and then they get the data wrong, and so misperceptions are perpetuated, like what you said about the Marines not being close to the Jundi, which is false, as well as huge sectarianism in Anbar, which is also false.
Okay. Well, like I said, I'm glad we're capturing this on film. Like I said, for future reference, I'm sure some historian or something would be interested to know